watching Morning at NTV.
Good morning. Welcome back to Morning at NTV. My name is Malaki Odera. Now today on the Kickstarter segment, as usual, we are taking stock on the current affairs, of course, with a keen focus on stories that you have reacted to the most. And of course, today we'll be talking about Bobi Wine's return, together with a little bit of what you were saying and what you had to say with regards to the 7 points that the president, kind of proposed for us to be able to sustain security in the country. I have Emilian Kaima. We'll be talking to him. Of course, it will be a phone call just for him to give us, his views on this, and also for him to let us in on the plans that the government, in perspective, the police is actually taking and putting into place with regards to the return of the Chadondo East Member of Parliament, Mr. Robert Chagulanyi Sentamu. I think I have him now. Good morning. All right, so I'll be having him in a few minutes, but in studios too, I'm joined by Mr. Muwanga Kivumbi, who is the Member of Parliament, Butambala. He's also the Shadow Defense and Internal Affairs Minister. Thank you so much for making time. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to meet you and morning viewers.
Good morning.
But a small collection.
Yes.
So the constituency is right. I'm a Member of Parliament for Butambala. I've been I continue to be until they appoint another one, a Shadow Minister for Internal Affairs.
Yes, Shadow
But
Minister.
I'm holding it up to until when the new law appoints another one. And I've also said I will not be available for reappointment. So these things need to be put right. The record.
We've taken notes.
We've
taken notes.
But I'm holding it up until he finds a replacement.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much for making time.
So
let's start off with the president's address over the weekend, the 7 points that he gave out. Yesterday, we saw the former president of the FDC, Mr. Patrick Amuriat, coming out to say that this was not, his 7 pointers were not so head-on. They didn't hit on the real cause. He actually said that he gave us the measures, but he didn't focus on the cause of the murders. Your take on this?
Well, I guess the 7 points are the usual 7 points. They are operational details of how to go into, how to mitigate and completely eliminate crime. But my strong opinion on the current security and what we require of a president, well, we need the leadership in the country to put up measures that are adequate, efficient, effective in eliminating terror and crime. But we also want him to tell us the cause. Because you cannot, there is a cause effect. You cannot solidly, Amuriat is the current president of FDC, you cannot tell us about what you are going to do before you diagnose the disease, the problem, and define it. Even in small project proposals, we start by problem identification and problem definition. Then you go into all other variables that you can work with to ensure you address the problem. Now, because you see, you can go into so much details, but when you don't know the cause, and I don't expect that the president does not know the cause. Now, the question is, why is he deliberately refusing to tell the country? Because you remember, September 11th, America was hit. Very quick, the president of America said, we've been hit by Al-Qaeda, sponsored by Osama bin Laden. They are based in Afghanistan, and we'll go after them. You need to be that clear. Now, when you look at criminality, when you look at crime in this country, it is of two categories. There is criminality, what I think is of an economic nature, where people are really going out of their way to steal cattle in the countryside.
To sustain themselves.
To sustain. That is rampant. That one is only being felt by a poor judicial system, corruption in the police force, in the investigative process, and corruption at the level of the DPP.
But let me ask you.
But then there is criminality that has nothing. They come to you, they kill you, they don't even take away your phone. Even if you have any belongings, they don't take it. So those ones are not motivated by money, by what. So what motivates that group of terrorists? In my humble view, that is political. Okay? The motive is political. So there is a political movement that wants to deliver a particular message.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much for that view. Of course, I told you earlier on we'll be touching base with the police spokesperson, Afande Emilian Kaima. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, madam. How are you?
Always a pleasure having you on the show. Of course, we know that Bobi Wine will be returning. Of course, by the end of this week, he will touch down and he will be back here with us in Uganda. Of course, and now the big question that many are asking right now is, what is the police doing to ensure that amidst all the excitement that we'll be receiving and actually seeing from his supporters, what is the police doing, number one, to ensure that other criminals do not take advantage of the excitement and do something wrong, and number two, to ensure that the Chadondo East Member of Parliament is actually secure and safe once he's back home?
Well, I had a visit yesterday and taking up children's school. I'm not sure that you have been notified of his coming. If anybody knows and is probably preparing for his coming, then they need to notify us, work together with him coming, like that. As far as I know, and we know as the police, they have not been given any such program of his arrival yet. I'm not sure we have that program.
So what you're saying is that the police is not informed about his return?
Unless if it was done during my absence yesterday when we were into school issues, taking back children to school, and probably communication came in. Otherwise, as yesterday by around 10 o'clock, no such communication had come in.
Okay, sir. And in the event that now, maybe today, in the course of today, you get the information and the communication that he'll be coming back, are you in a position to let us in on what preparations in terms of security that you will take into action?
Why should we guess? I don't have to guess about anything. I really don't want to engage into guesswork. If he comes, he comes. If there are any preparations, then we need to get to know and get involved into that. There is some form of excitement that I don't know where it comes from. Some people have actually written on social media alleging certain things attributed to me as a PRO, which I think is the excitement, or I don't know. I might use the wrong word.
Okay, Mr. Kaima, the other question would be, when we saw Bobi Wine addressing the media in the US, he actually pointed out to the fact that he will be coming back home, of course, because Uganda is his home and he has no other place that he can call home. But the main question was, and what he was asked during these interviews is, if he was afraid of his life once he's back home. Of course, the police is mandated to assure every single citizen of this country of their security. He is a part of the citizens in the country. So in terms of assuring him of his security once he's back, what would you say?
I'm not sure I'd say that. I think similar to what happens to all of us in the public arena, where allegations are made and people probably begin to debate the allegations which are false. I'm not sure it says it that if he has come from, I have not heard that from his mouth. And I don't want to engage into guesswork really. Why would he be afraid? Who is his threat?
Okay, we hear you.
That's true. If it doesn't come from him. If it does, then he will face himself and he will tell us what his fears are, and then they'll be addressed.
So what you're saying is he needs to come back home and table the same fears directly to the police.
Come again?
So what you're saying is for you to take action, he needs to come back home and address the police directly with regards to his fear.
Why would I guess what you think?
So
he
he,
does not say it.
so
why,
he,
why would the police engage into guessing what someone thinks here or abroad? Really, why?
okay, so my question
I don't see
is,
any justification at all.
okay, so
In terms of that,
okay, my question is, Mr. Kaima, what you're saying is if the police is to take his claim seriously, once he's back home, he has to visit the police and table his kind of concerns to you directly. That's what you're saying?
it doesn't matter whether you're home or far away. If they are clear, if there is a communication to make, then you can make it wherever you are. As long as it reaches the right destination that will be acted on, it's our role really to protect everyone. My only challenge in this service is the unnecessary excitement by maybe by citizens, by members of the public, which is a creation largely of the media, including social media platforms. Which are necessary. If there is found fear and you are here or abroad, just present it.
Okay, sir. All right, sir. The last question before we let you go would be, of course, we know the police is, carrying out investigations to the murder of Chadondo Ace Member of Parliament, Mr. Robert Chagulanyi's driver. What would you tell us in terms of the investigations? How far have you gone?
Well, investigators are doing their investigation is like a approach to war. You follow leads, you interrogate so many things. They are ground doing their work. At the appropriate time, a preliminary report will be given. As we always brief the media and the country and the world on how far we are going about certain cases, we will do the same.
Okay.
For this particular one, showing progress and what we need to be done, what to be done, the challenges they are in, like that.
All right, sir. Thank you so much for your views. Thank you so much for answering to our call this early morning. We truly wish you a great day. And of course, we'll follow through with you with regards to any kind of developments. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, too.
All
Have
right.
a blessed day.
Likewise. Thank you. Back in studios, Mr. Muhammad, so that is what is happening. But in your view, in terms of Bobby Wines, and of course, yesterday we saw the Parliament, the government responding to EU, the European Parliament that said that the government of Uganda ought to drop the charges that they put on the 33 people that were arrested during the aftermath of the Arua chaos. Your take?
First of all, on the return of Honorable Robert Chagulanyi, there is a law that I have a lot of issues with, and it's a very bad law. But I'm now requesting police to abide by the dictates of the Public Order Management Act, because the Public Order Management Act places responsibility on two people. One, on the organizers, and two, on the police. And it defines what each of those two agencies or two parties ought to do at any given particular time. Now, the organizing committee of the return of Honorable Bobby Wine ought to, under the law, to write to police within 3 days for either a procession or for, even if he wants to address a rally after his return. Now, once they write, the police is not mandated in any way to ban. In any way. It's illegal, because I went to court. There's a famous constitutional court ruling Muwanga Kivumbi versus the Attorney General about the Police Act. And it's the police has no powers to ban any political party gathering or procession. But under the law, after 3 days, the police, if it has issues within 24 hours, 1, with the venue, 2, with the route, okay, it owes to write back to the organizers with the view for sitting down and defining an alternative, finding an alternative venue or route.
Okay.
But as a free Ugandan, in the demonstration of fundamental rights of association and assembly, no one in this country, even the president, has powers to deny anyone those rights.
Okay.
So what we expect this time around, and the standard should be set. It's a bad law, by the way. I have a lot of issues with it. We're in a constitutional court, but right now it's the law that is pertaining. We're only urging police, please, may you abide by the dictates of this horrible law.
Back to
now,
the EU.
Back to the EU and the charges. You know, there are matters before the court. You have to be very careful not to be the sub judice rule, not to catch up with us. But when you look at the processes, how the whole thing came out, you realize it's so horrible. You realize that these are really trumped up charges. One day you want to charge someone with a whip in a court martial, then all of a sudden you drop the charges, then you take them to the to civilian courts and you charge them with the treason. My fear is that if you trivialize treason and make it look so ordinary, make it so obvious for our judicial system, one day when you take the serious case, people will think it is business as usual.
Let me ask you.
And for me, it's a disservice. And here I blame the office of the DPP. Because the firewall that was put in the Constitution to ensure that no trumped-up charges are put upon you, for any charge to be pressed in the courts of law, it had to go through the office of the DPP. The DPP is supposed to make sure, beyond reasonable doubt, that there is a prima facie case.
Okay.
They look at all the files that the police, because in the past, before the making of our Constitution, numerous Ugandans suffered at the hands of trumped-up charges. The police would file only charges and take you to a court of law, say you have committed to... So in the Constitution, they instituted the office of the DPP to ensure it's supposed to be non-partisan. It's supposed to act above board.
Okay.
It's not supposed to be influenced, to ensure that no trumped-up charges, that no Ugandans is put through that horrible process when there is no prima facie cases. Therefore, the very fact that so many of these charges are never prosecuted to the logical conclusion speaks volume of the failure and state capture. When you talk about state capture, that all institutions of the state are now captured by and large by the presidency.
Okay.
And the DPP cannot effectively execute its mandate. Therefore, it's a disservice by that office for failure to do his constitutional duty. And we would have expected that office acts accordingly.
On the other side of the coin, there's been a conversation about reconciliation, and I need to get your take on this. And of course, during the president's address over the weekend, he said that he is okay, he is fine. He's actually okay with sitting down with Chadondo East Member of Parliament, Bobby Wine, Robert Chagulanyi Sentamu, and negotiate.
Over what?
Negotiate over the issues that have been there.
No, over crime.
Over the outstanding issues that have been there.
Because you cannot negotiate criminality.
Yes.
You see,
not over crime. Not over crime.
No. You see, you will not be the one beating up people. You kill people. You maim people. Then all of a sudden you say we sit down and talk.
But
and for me,
that would be a great solution.
There has been a talk of a dialogue and negotiation
and national reconciliation. Yes.
Now, that is far deeper. This country had what we call the Royal Consensus. Okay? Which Royal Consensus? There were things that we agreed should never happen again in our country. for example, because of our past history, they made a constitution in the CA that largely was putting a line in the sand to say never again in our country should these things happen. Now, the president has broken every single line of that consensus.
But sir, reconciliation...
No, that's what I'm saying. So you cannot go on breaking everything that we agreed upon. And then all of a sudden you say, oh, come on, can we talk?
But is it too bad? Is it too bad? I think that's a great move on the part of the president.
We should not demobilize the people's momentum to push for change in this country. President Yoweri Museveni has never, I can tell you through the Bush, the Nairobi, you know, when there was a Nairobi convention with General Rutwa, he has never respected. And it's not about to respect.
But
so I'm not one of the people. You see, there is a group that are fairly cowards. Instead of condemning, okay, condemning things that are horrible, that are going on in our country, they're simply saying, can we dialogue? First of all, you don't dialogue unless... You see, you have to privilege the ground. For me, the thing is, presently, what we must do is push more.
Okay.
Create a kind of a balanced political force in the country. That's what the only force that the president will respect.
So what you're calling for is for a balanced political space for all?
For all.
Okay.
Simply abide by what the Constitution says, give people freedoms of assembly, be a good... How do you lose elections and you act like the way he has reacted? You lose in Ibujiri, you lose everywhere, and you are there battering people, you are there lying to a country, and we are all, by the way, our constitution, well respected, gives a space for everyone to be free in this country.
Thank you so much.
And we want the president to respect that.
All right, thank you so much.
Dialogue things.
Thank you so much. Of course, the Religious Council in the country is pushing for the dialogue, and I think that would be the correct angle to take for starters.
The Religious Council, you see those religious people, yes. For people who think they can push for a dialogue, it's their business.
Okay.
But I must caution political actors not to follow that trap. I must caution political actors not to follow into that trap. The religious fellows have had their go. I mean, we've been beaten. They were quiet of late. They are speaking. Very, very good recommendation, and I give it to them a big credit. But the only thing we can invest in now, in the next few, is to ensure there is an equal playing field for all, that there is freedom as association of assembly, and we define a new order for this country. And this new order, I can assure you, is without President Museveni.
Thank you so much, Member of Parliament Butambala and the Shadow Defense Internal Affairs Minister.
No, there is the Shadow Minister for Defense.
Yes. Okay, Mr. Muwanga Kivumbi Muhammad.
Olania will be so saying, now he calls himself a Shadow. I'm for Internal Affairs.
Okay, noted, sir. Thank you so much for coming in studio. It's always a pleasure to have you. That has been it for Kickstarter segment. Keep your comments coming. The hashtag is morning@NTV. That's on Twitter. You can also stream us live and drop in your comments. NTV Uganda, that's on Facebook and YouTube pages. Morning@NTV still continues. Up next, On the Ground with Andrew Chamagero.